I'm going to admit Wayne here
Oh, good.
and gonna kind of turn it over to you guys.
Okay. Welcome, Wayne. Welcome, everyone. My name is Carl Teichman. I'm Director of Government and Community Relations with Illinois Wesleyan, and welcome you to our final Lunch and Learn of the season. We're very pleased to have Larissa Armstrong, the Assistant Director of the Ecology Action Center, here today to talk about combating high energy cost with energy efficiency and solar. And so without further ado, I'll turn it over to Larissa. Larissa, welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. It is technically afternoon. Okay, just checking. Good afternoon, everyone. As Carl said, my name is Larissa. I work at the Ecology Action Center. I'm going to give just a brief overview of all of the work that we do at the Ecology Action Center, and then I will jump into detailed information about rising energy costs and some options to reduce that burden. So the Ecology Action Center, we have been operating in McLean County for over 50 years. We started off as a one-time recycling drive by some volunteers and then turned into a recycling organization. And then in the 90s, when the municipalities took over recycling services for residents, we morphed into what we are today, which is an environmental nonprofit that provides education and technical services around a variety of topics, including solid waste, clean water, energy efficiency, renewable energy, and clean air. So one of our main program areas, and probably what we are most known for, is our waste reduction and recycling efforts. We are the solid waste coordinator for all of McLean County. So we are the go-to place for any and all questions about how to properly dispose of anything. We have recycling resources on our website, but also our staff are always available to answer questions. We also have programs to help folks learn how to compost, and we host regular household hazardous waste collection events. We also help educate the community on ways to reduce stormwater runoff pollution. We do that through our Clean Water Clearinghouse website at mcleanwater.org, through our Yard Smart program, through storm drain stenciling, rain barrel workshops, and our Sugar Creek Stewards program, which we're always looking for volunteers for. So if you are in the mood to cut down some honeysuckle, let me know at the end of the presentation. Tree Core is a newer initiative where we are helping to increase air quality in our community by planting 10,000 trees a year in McLean County. We need help planting trees. We need help purchasing trees. Everyone likes trees. So if you like trees also, you can ask me more ways to get involved. But now to the real meat and potatoes, or tofu and potatoes, if you're a vegetarian, for why we are here. BN Energy Bright is the Ecology Action Center's energy efficiency program. I manage that program, and I am here today to talk to you all about why energy efficiency is important, how solar is important, and the ways that these items can help us lower our energy costs. BN Energy Bright has been in existence since 2014, I believe. It's partially funded by the city of Bloomington and the town of Normal to complement their municipal aggregation programs. And so through BN Energy Bright, the Ecology Action Center provides low-cost home and small business energy audits to Bloomington and Normal residents and businesses to help them locate areas for efficiency improvement. I'm sure that everybody knows that our energy costs have gone up substantially over the last year and a half. The Ameren supply rate doubled from 2021 to 2022, and those rates have remained high. Similarly, NICOR rates also doubled in 2022 and remain high. And Corn Belt rates are similarly still around or over 10 cents a kilowatt hour. And this is up, the Ameren rate before October 2022 was around 5 cents a kilowatt hour, and now it's over 10. As I mentioned before, both the town of Normal and the city of Bloomington have something called municipal electricity aggregation. The state of Illinois has a deregulated energy system, which means that people can choose their energy supplier. The main two public utilities for electricity, Ameren and ComEd, which is up in the Chicago area. Both of those still deliver electricity to people who might have alternate suppliers, but then residents can get a different supply rate from an alternate supplier. Typically, residents can shop for alternate suppliers on their own, but typically alternative retail energy suppliers, or ARES, which is what alternate suppliers are called, they have a tendency to have predatory marketing practices and will offer rates that seem lower but end up actually being higher than what the utility rates are. So I don't typically recommend that residents shop for alternate retail energy supplies on their own. However, municipalities are also allowed to act as a purchaser for the residents in their communities. So residents in Bloomington and in Normal both approved the city and the town to act in this capacity for all Ameren customers. So for several years now, both municipalities have been purchasing electricity supply from an alternate supplier at a reduced rate, and then all residents that have Ameren electricity receive that rate unless they opt out. So the most current contract started in July of 2022 and goes through July of 2025. Both the city and the town are utilizing Constellation Energy, and both the city and the town have the same new supply rate, which is 7.8 cents a kilowatt hour. Now, as you remember before, I mentioned that the Ameren supply rate is over 10 cents a kilowatt hour. So this 7.8 cents is a savings for Bloomington and Normal residents that have Ameren as their electricity supply. Unfortunately, Corn Belt residents do not have the option to shop for an alternate supplier. If you have Corn Belt for your energy provider, then the only way you can not have that is if you move. So I will just note that when the city and the town sent out their notices to residents about this new contract in the spring of 2022, the old Ameren rate of around over 5 cents a kilowatt hour was still listed on the letter because Ameren hadn't formalized their rate increase yet. The rate went up, I think it was either in May or June of 2022, but residents received this letter saying the new rate for aggregation is going to be 7.8 cents a kilowatt hour. And then it said, but the current Ameren rate is 5 cents a kilowatt hour, which means a lot of residents thought, why would I pay more for this aggregation rate, even though the aggregation rate wasn't going to start until July. And by then the Ameren rates were already higher than 7.8 cents. So a lot of residents might have opted out because they didn't have accurate information, and that's no one's fault. That information just didn't exist yet. So I encourage residents to contact Constellation Energy if you are not already participating in aggregation to see if you can re-enroll. If you opted out, they might not allow you back in, but they also might have some leeway there if you explain that you didn't have all of the information available to you. The Constellation Energy number is here on the screen, but also residents can contact the Ecology Action Center for that information and can also find it on the city and the town's websites. So how you know whether or not you already have aggregation supply is on your Ameren bill. You'll look for the section that says electric supply, and it should say Constellation Energy Municipal Aggregation Rate. That says renewable rate because this is an old bill and I just plunked the Constellation Energy in over it. But it should just say municipal ag rate, or as the previous slide showed, there is actually a renewable energy source option, which is a little bit more expensive at 8.3 cents a kilowatt hour. So that is how you know whether or not you have aggregation. So if the electric supply section just says Ameren, then that means that you are not participating in municipal aggregation, and you might want to call Constellation Energy to see if you can enroll so that you can save, 3 cents a kilowatt hour on your energy bill. So another great way to lower energy costs is through increased efficiency. I always tell people that the cheapest kilowatt hour is the one that you never use in the first place. So this is essentially energy efficiency is finding ways to reduce energy waste in your home. As I mentioned before, the Ecology Action Center provides home energy audit services. We have a basic visual inspection and energy bill assessment for $20 for Bloomington Normal residents. But we can also provide diagnostic testing, including a blower door test, which you can see in the picture there, which tests for a home's air tightness and helps pinpoint air leaks. And in the winter, we can partner that test with infrared imaging to look for areas of decreased insulation or significant air leaks. And the diagnostic testing is only $80. And of course, we're also always willing to waive audit fees for people that have financial need. And there's no proof necessary. You can just say, I'm interested in an energy audit, but I'm not sure I can afford it. And I'll say, okay, and I will come and do it. And then after the audit, we provide you a report that has comprehensive information about issues that we might have found, and also sort of some other basic ways that you can lower your energy costs. Things that people can do on their own without having an energy audit. These are what I call low-hanging fruit energy efficiency savings. So everyone should use a programmable thermostat. If you don't, because setting back your temperature at night when you're sleeping or when you're away from home for several hours can save as much as 10% a year on your heating and cooling costs. Also making sure that your heating and cooling equipment is maintained is really important. If you can afford an annual service contract, I highly recommend it. Usually they cost around $150 a year. And you get 2 checkups, one in the fall to check your heating and one in the spring to check your cooling. And then if you do need parts or replacement or service, you typically get a discount on that service. But this is a great way to make sure that your equipment is ready and to be used when it is time for heating and cooling. If you have solar in your home already or are considering going solar, and I'm going to have more information about that process in a little bit, then when you are purchasing new appliances, consider electric options to help reduce natural gas combustion in your home, but also to ensure that you are powering as much as you can with renewable sources, which will mean that you'll be paying less. The Department of Energy has a program called Energy Star. You'll see the logo in the bottom corner of the screen. That means that any appliances that have that label have been tested and meet specific energy efficiency standards. So this applies to things like dishwashers, washers and dryers, all kinds of of large appliances for our home. So if you are replacing appliances like that, you can look for Energy Star rated appliances to make sure that anything that you are purchasing is as efficient as possible. And then lastly, use LED bulbs everywhere. If you still have incandescent bulbs or even compact fluorescent, the little spirally ones, if you have any of those in your house, just don't wait for them to burn out. Just replace them right now. LED bulbs are very affordable now, and they come in all shapes and sizes and colors and hues and brightnesses, and are incredibly efficient. So swapping out all of your lighting for LEDs is a great way to save money. I know a lot of people, when LEDs first came out on the market, they all had kind of that terrible like blue light color that I don't think anybody enjoys. So this is my handy guide for how to buy the bulbs that are right for your space. So most LED bulbs have a lighting fact chart on it that sort of looks like a nutrition label on a food box. And that will show you what the lumens are, which indicates how bright a bulb is, and what the kelvins are, which shows you how warm or cool a light is. So if you need a very bright light for your kitchen or a workspace, your garage maybe, you're going to want something that has a higher lumen. So the higher the lumen, the brighter the bulb. So if you just have a little like side table lamp that you just need for a little bit of light, then something with lower lumens might be better for that. Also, like a bedside lamp, you don't want anything that's too bright there right before you're going to go to sleep. So also something with lower lumens would be good in spaces like that. Kelvins you can see I have a Kelvin temperature chart here, and then on the lighting facts label you can see where it says light appearance, warm, cool, and then it says 2700 K. That's kelvins. That tells you how warm or cool a light is. So anything over 3500 kelvins, you're going to start to move into that like white and blue lighting. Anything 3500 kelvins or below is going to be a warmer, more yellow light, more similar to what we were used to with incandescent bulbs. So those are the things that you need to look for when you're shopping for LEDs. We all got used to shopping for wattage. That's not as important with an LED because all of them use a very low wattage. So now you can look for lumens and kelvins to find the right bulb for the right space. A lot of times when I'm doing energy audits or talking to people about their homes, a lot of people say, my windows are really drafty. I need you to come and do an energy audit because my windows are really drafty. Can windows be drafty? Yes, of course they can. But most of the time, the issues are somewhere else. And windows create some conditions that make us feel like there's a draft when there's not. So when we are standing next to windows, the surface of a window is colder than we are, especially in the winter. So in the winter, if you're standing near a window, you're actually radiating your own body temperature to that colder space, and that makes you feel colder, which can make you feel like perhaps that window is drafty. Also, windows create convective loops right next to their surface. So the cold temperature from the surface of the window drops, and then warm air from your house has to come in from the top, and it creates a small little convective loop where air is moving, but that doesn't mean that it's moving from outside to inside. It's just moving in that space by the window, which can make it feel like a draft, even though it might not be. Instead, when we're thinking about energy efficiency, when we're not talking about the low-hanging fruit items that I already mentioned, what we really need to concern ourselves with is our building envelope. And that is the portion of our home or office space that we are heating and cooling. So we want everything in the space that is being heated and cooled to be insulated and air sealed. So this little chart here shows that, the home envelope here is basically everything with the exception of the attic. And you want insulation and air sealing to occur at every point around the outside line of the home envelope. And this also shows some common areas for air leakage. The thing that I see most often when I'm in people's homes is a lack of insulation in the basement, or inadequate insulation in the basement. Oftentimes I see fiberglass bat insulation, which are like the sheets of like pink puffy insulation. That's really designed to lay flat, or if it's in a vertical space, it needs to be like secured so that it won't sink. But oftentimes in basements, that's just shoved into the little sections where your main floor and the ceiling of the basement meet in the rim joists. And it gets all scrunched up, and it's not a tight seal, which still allows for leakage in those spaces. Similarly, I often find attic hatches that are not insulated. So it's easier for air and heat or cool to transfer through that space. So we want to make sure that we are sealing and insulating that entire area. And this is just basically a larger visual of where the conditioned space is and how the pressure boundary, which is where air flows, and the thermal boundary, which is where your insulation is, should be the same. So start high at the attic and go down. So sealing air leaks, that's starting with the attic floor. So that might entail a lot of houses have recessed lights that aren't sealed properly. The attic hatch doesn't have insulation or air sealing. Anywhere where air can get through, it will. So the more spaces that are air sealed, the better. And then making sure that the attic, crawl space, and basement and exterior walls of your home are adequately insulated. So energy efficiency improvements can be expensive. So I always recommend that people first check with their utilities to see if there are any options for rebates or energy savings, either for equipment upgrades or weatherization upgrades. And in the Bloomington Normal area, currently there is an income qualifying program for residents that have both Ameren for electricity and NICOR for natural gas. The income qualifications are listed in that chart there. It's an 80% area median income qualifying level. So a lot of people might actually meet those guidelines. And through that program, an inspector will come to your house and do a full comprehensive energy audit, and then based on the results of that audit, provide air sealing, insulation, heating and cooling equipment tune-ups, and more, all for free. The utilities pay for all of it. So if you or anyone that you know meets those income guidelines, I highly recommend participating in this program. It's a great way to improve your home's efficiency and not spend anything other than a little bit of your time on the effort. So folks can register online at ee-savings.com, or they can contact the Ecology Action Center and I can send them an application. Solar is another great way to save money on energy costs. Investing in solar basically means that you are creating a baseline energy cost for yourself for the next 20 plus years, and will no longer have to worry about fluctuating energy costs. There are multiple components to a solar array. Most solar arrays go on the roof. So the solar is installed on the roof. Then there's an inverter that changes the direct current electricity that's generated by the solar panels into alternating current, which is what we use in our homes. That flows through your electrical panel and also through your meter. The meter keeps track of how much energy you're using in your home, how much energy your solar panels, the inverter knows how much energy your solar panels are generating at any given moment. Any excess solar that your system might produce that you didn't use at the time of production will flow back out to the grid, as most solar arrays are still grid tied. There are options for battery storage, but batteries are still very expensive. So that can make a solar array less cost effective. But any energy that is sent out to the grid that you didn't use at the time of production, you get to use later in the form of what they call a net metering credit. And that's just a 1 kilowatt hour to 1 kilowatt hour credit. And that's for Ameren. Corn Belt has some different net metering options, but it's still, they still offer net metering. It just looks a little bit different than Ameren because Corn Belt is not a public utility, so they don't have to do what the state tells them. So location and siting is really important. This is a screenshot of a portion of on the east side here in Bloomington Normal through a program called Project Sunroof. That's a Google-based program. Doesn't always work in rural areas because they don't have everywhere covered yet. But if you live in a city or a town, most likely your house will show up on here. And basically, south facing roofs are an ideal location for solar. You want 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. sun exposure, ideally. You can use east and west facing roofs also, but basically that means you're going to have a few more solar panels to make up for the less direct sun exposure. And you obviously can't have any kind of shade that is going to make solar hard to use because you need sun. So this map shows basically all of the roofs that are that bright yellow color. Those are all south facing roofs with minimal obstructions from trees or other things. And so prime spots for solar panels. Right now, there are a lot of incentives available to go solar. So there's a 30% federal tax credit that you can take off the cost of your the entirety of your solar array. It is dependent on your tax appetite. You can take it over 2 years if you need to. And then the state of Illinois offers something called solar renewable energy credits, or SRECs. These are production-based credits, so it depends on the size of your system. You get the money either all at once or over 5 years, depending on the size of your system. The Illinois Power Agency is the one that issues these credits. It is taxable income, but you can get back, 20 to 30% of your upfront costs from the renewable energy credits that are available through the state. And then, of course, you have additional savings through your net metering. But there are also options to help people be able to afford solar. A lot of solar installers will offer a loan option. Well, they'll put the solar up on your roof, and then you basically lease it for a monthly payment that should be lower than what your current electricity costs are. When pursuing solar, I always recommend getting multiple proposals. I know there are a lot of installers going around town right now offering deals. That's fine. You can get a proposal from them, but make sure that you're calling other places and getting proposals from other places as well, so that you can make sure that you're getting the best deal. And any solar developer that's offering you a monthly rate, again, that's fine, but you should be able to see what your system would look like if you were paying for it up front, so that you can see what the company is making. Because if they're leasing it to you, then that means that they are going to take all of the federal tax credits and the state renewable energy credits. So you should be able to see what the estimates are for those, so that you can make sure that the monthly lease rate that they're offering you makes sense with what the cost of the solar system was going to be. But there's also an income qualifying program through the state called Illinois Solar for All. It actually has the same income requirements as the Ameren NICOR program that I mentioned earlier. So any household that meets this income limit can apply for solar, rooftop solar for their house, but there are also community solar options. I'm going to explain that a little bit more in a minute. Illinois Solar for All is a program it started with the Future Energy Jobs Act and then was upgraded with the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act last year. It's designed to increase access to income eligible homes and also nonprofits and public facilities that serve critical functions. Basically, it allows people to have on-site solar at no upfront costs with guaranteed low monthly payments, or community solar with a 50% supply savings, which I will explain more. So for homeowners, how the rooftop portion works, basically an approved developer, they have to go through a vetting process with the state. They would install the solar on an income qualified resident's home, and then lease the solar to them for, in this case, 15 or 20 years. The developer would get all of the federal tax credits for the project and the solar renewable energy credits. Inside the Illinois Solar for All program, in order to make this program viable, the solar renewable energy credits are worth more than they are outside of the program in what is called just the Illinois Shines or adjustable block program, which is just the non-income qualifying solar program in Illinois. So the increased solar renewable energy credits help the installers make money off of the installation, and then makes them able to offer the lease at a very low rate. Currently in Bloomington Normal, GRNE Solar and Sunrun are the two installers that are serving our area, and both of them are offering a lease rate of $0 a month, which sounds impossible, but again, the finances inside this program make them able to do that. So basically, any income eligible homeowner that participates in this program gets solar installed on their house for free, and then they don't have to pay anything for it. So it's a very great deal. People can also subscribe for community solar. So community solar works really well for renters. It's also a really great option for homeowners who you have some structural issues that you have to address before you can get solar on your house, like your roof needs to be redone, or you need to upgrade your electrical system. Or if you live in a house in an area that is heavily shaded, you have a lot of trees, and so on-site solar is not an option for you, then community solar is a great way to invest in renewable energy in Illinois and still see some savings on your energy bill. So basically, there's a large solar array in an old cornfield somewhere, and all of the energy that solar array generates just goes directly to the Ameren grid. And again, community solar is not an option for people that have Corn Belt. On-site solar is, but community solar is not at this time. But all of the energy that's produced goes directly to the grid, and then a bunch of different people can have subscriptions to that system and then receive credits on their energy bill for any energy that their subscription produces. In the Illinois Solar for All program, any income qualifying resident, they save 50% on their Ameren supply rate for any energy that their subscription generated. In the Illinois Shines program, so outside of the income qualifying program, the savings are typically 20% off the supply rate. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. This is an example of what your Ameren bill would look like if you have a community solar subscription. So at the top under usage summary, you see that it says offsite generation kilowatt hours. So that's 486 kilowatt hours credited on this bill. That means that the community solar subscription generated that much energy for this billing cycle. And then down in the electric supply section, you can see where that generation was credited. So it took $60 off of the bill. And so in this particular example, and to be transparent, this is my bill. I have community solar at my house. So in this particular example, I had actually produced some energy that I didn't get to use the month before because my system produced more energy than I used. So you'll see my offsite generation credit of $60 plus a carryover credit of $31. So in this month, I didn't pay Ameren anything for my electric supply because my community solar subscription covered all of it. I still had to pay my delivery fees for the entire 641 kilowatt hours of energy that I used because I'm still using all of Ameren's infrastructure to get energy to my house. So this is not based off the bill I just showed you, but this is just an example. With Illinois Solar for All Community Solar, there's an example of what the bill would look like without it. You're just paying your full supply rate, paying your delivery, paying your taxes. If you have community solar, let's say it generated $60 worth of energy, you're getting $60 credit on your bill, and then you're only paying half of the supply rate for your community solar generation. So you're only paying $30. You basically get $30 off of that $60 generation. So you save $60 on your Ameren bill, and then you only pay $30 for it. So before community solar, the person's bill would have been $150. After community solar, it would be $120. So it's not $50 off your whole bill. It's just off the it's a $50% discount on any energy that your system generated, and that's based on the Ameren supply rate. Right now, there are two community solar options for folks that qualify for Illinois Solar for All. Solstice, this system is still being built. However, this system is using this company is going to be using aggregated billing. So that means that all of the discounts plus any payments for the community solar is all going to be on the Ameren bill. Otherwise, a lot of community solar offers require that you have a second bill. So you would see all of your credits on your Ameren bill, you'd pay your reduced Ameren bill, then you'd get a subsequent bill for the community solar that would have the discounts on that, and you would pay that bill also. So Solstice is offering consolidated billing where it will all be in one place. But this system is still being built, so people that sign up for this would not start seeing savings until probably October or November. Solar Simplified is taking subscriptions right now, and their systems are activated. So that means that the enrollment period would have a fairly quick turnaround. So you might be like 1 or 2 months by the time you see savings on your bill. And again, these are both for Illinois Solar for All, which is the income qualifying program. But as I mentioned, community solar is also available for people that don't meet those income qualifications, again, just for Ameren residents. So this is a similar example. It's the same example that I showed before, except over on the community solar subscription section, you're only getting a 20% discount on the energy that was generated, as opposed to a 50% discount for Illinois Solar for All. But still seeing some savings on your energy bill. Similarly to solar developers going around and offering great rates for different programs, there have also been community solar developers going around marketing savings for people. Again, all fine. But I will say that, most recently, there were some people from, I think it was IGS Energy, and they were offering community solar with a 10% supply rate savings. So that's fine, you're still saving something, but there are several options available to save 20%. So I typically tell people, if you're looking for a community solar option, look for something that has a 20% savings rate, and also has, you should never have to pay any sign-up fees or cancellation fees. So if you see anything that says that there's a cancellation fee, that's a red flag, and not something you should sign up for. There is currently one company that is taking community solar signups for Ameren territory. And this is just for the 20% savings, the non-income qualifying program. So right now they have two, this is US Solar, they have two energized systems that are taking subscriptions, but they also have several more approved projects in the state that are under development. So when the two current systems that they're taking subscriptions for, when those fill up, people will be waitlisted for either someone canceling their subscription or to get into one of these, the new projects that are under development. So again, with these subscriptions, you would save 20% on your supply rate. And this is sort of getting into the weeds a little bit, but if you have the aggregation, municipal aggregation rate, you can keep that. You don't have to cancel aggregation in order to have community solar. And your community solar credits will still be based on the Ameren rate. So that means that your savings will actually, the savings on your bill will actually be higher, because you'll get, 300 kilowatt hours of energy credited to you at 10 cents a kilowatt hour instead of 7. So you'll see a higher reduction on your bill. And that is it. That is my contact information. I am always happy to help people if they have questions about solar, if they have questions about community solar, if they have questions about energy efficiency. I am happy to answer any questions that anyone ever has. If you get a solar proposal and you're like, this looks weird and I'm not sure if it's legit, I'd be happy to take a look at it. I can come and do an energy audit for you, anything like that. I am at your service.
Thank you so much, Larissa. I think there is one question in the chat, and it says, does and Jeff, this looks like it's coming from you.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Is it supposed to be ComEd? Yes.
Yes, sorry about that.
ComEd is a state utility. So any of the Illinois Solar for All programs, and also any of the Illinois Shines solar programs are all open to ComEd residents as well. Obviously, the community solar, if you go to the Illinois Shines website, they have a list of community solar projects. I only put up the ones that were in Ameren because that's what everybody has here. But there should be some community solar options in ComEd territory as well. And then also the income qualifying solar program also applies to residents that have ComEd. So it's basically ComEd and Ameren because they're the public utilities. But any like co-op utility or a municipal utility, those programs don't necessarily apply there.
Okay. Also, one question, information on Calvin's, can that be found on the EAC website?
I think I put it up there, but if I didn't, I will.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, that would be on the bnenergybright.org page.
Great, great. Other questions for Larissa before we let her go? Yeah, how many companies are selling systems in the area, and what's the typical cost?
It's hard to say what a typical cost is because obviously costs depend on how big your system is. Any solar proposal is going to need to look at your energy bill, look at about 12 months of usage so that they can determine how much energy you use to determine what size of a system that you want. But I would say typically you're looking at costs of anywhere from $4 to $6 a watt. And so that's how they price solar, but that price covers the entirety of the project. So they do it by watt, but they're also factoring in the materials to install it, the inverter, all of that stuff. Prices also vary depending on what types of materials you get. So some people might, depending on what installer they're going with, they might want to opt for like American made panels, or there are a couple different kinds of inverters that people can use. Some of them, there are micro inverters that will track the energy production of each panel, so that if one goes out, you know exactly which one it is. So those also affect the price, as well as where you're installing it. So if you have like a really steep pitched roof, or you have a lot of, like if some of it needs to go on this part of the roof and then some of it has to go over here, that's going to be more time to install, which means more staff time, which means higher cost. Whereas if you have a relatively flat roof and everything's going to go in one spot, it's not going to take them very long to get it up there. But I would say you're looking at, let's say ballpark, like around $20,000-$25,000, but it could be more depending on how big of a system you're looking at.
Okay, great.
Oh, and as far as how many companies are selling
Yeah.
in the area, like a bunch, because Illinois' legislation is really great. And so lots of solar companies are trying to get in on the Illinois market. And we do have Straight Up Solar is a Missouri-based company, but they have a local office and a local installation team. So they do really great work here locally. I believe Legacy Solar is another local company. They use, I believe that they use they're like a Sunrun affiliate. So they use all of Sunrun's materials. But so those are some local options. GRNE Solar is working on Illinois Solar for All projects, but they also do Illinois Shines projects. They are a larger organization, but they now have a Bloomington office as well. So there are a lot. Which is why I always recommend that people get multiple quotes from different installers to make sure they're getting a good deal.
Okay, and also if you're in the Corn Belt energy system or service area, a lot of the programs don't apply.
Just so the municipal aggregation does not apply to Corn Belt, and community solar does not apply to Corn Belt, but Corn Belt residents can still get solar on their house. It's just that the net metering looks a little bit different, and there are a few more hoops to jump through. If you live in Corn Belt and you're interested in solar, I definitely recommend at least getting one quote from Straight Up Solar, because they've done a lot of Corn Belt projects, so they understand the additional requirements that Corn Belt asks for, whereas a lot of these newer companies that are coming in might not know all of those nuances. But yeah, it's still a really great way to reduce your energy costs. So if it works for your budget, then highly recommended.
Great. Well, thank you, Larissa. And I'll turn this over now to Jeff.
Okay.
Thank you, Carl. Of course, my phone started ringing. Thanks again, Larissa, for just a wealth of information.
Sure.
And thank you too, Wayne, for that question about the systems in the area and what is the typical cost. That's always an issue, right? And also, in particular, that information you shared about the convection loops, that's going to give me some fodder when I go home tonight to argue with my wife. That window is not leaking. That's a convection loop.
As a convection loop, just put on a sweater.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, like I say, thank you for everything. And Wayne and others that are here today, I just want to let you know that if you want to review this program again, you can find it on our YouTube channel. We'll have it up later. And again, as we bring the season Lunch and Learn to a close, we want to thank the Illinois Wesleyan. We want to thank our technical person in the background back there, Michaela Harris, and everyone else who makes this program possible. And if you have any other information that you're interested in, of course, reach out to Ecology Action Center. And with that, I'll bid you all a good day, and I hope the sun continues to shine.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.